Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coast Files, your podcast for ocean mysteries and true crime. I'm Chantel.
I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Megan. And today we're going to celebrate what, belated, or is it tomorrow?
It's yesterday, as of
Yesterday.
the release.
Belated. Is it International Red Wine Day? Wine Day. Red Wine Day.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
something.
This comes out on the. Wait.
I love how we
Yeah.
always have
I
this
think
together.
I
This
even
comes
looked
out
it
on
up
February
before.
19th. And I
Yes.
think
Okay.
it was
Yesterday.
the 18th.
18th.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Either way, drink some red wine or don't,
Yes.
but celebrate however you
Drink
want.
some red wine
Yes,
yesterday.
we have some red
Yay!
wine.
Oh, you know
So,
what?
and it's February, so we're cold. What else are we going to do?
There we
I'm
go.
going to
Outside.
play my UB40 vinyl record. Red wine.
There you go.
A bunch of white British people singing like reggae. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, totally okay.
Yeah. Oh, and this can stay on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not official. It's like 99.9, but I got the job.
Oh my God.
Congrats, Megan.
I'm
Yes,
gonna have money. Megan's gonna have money. I got Megan's dinner on Megan.
Okay. I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm already planning in my head our next girls' trip. So,
Okay.
We have like
Perfect.
100. I don't know
We
where we're
do.
going. Like, well, Scotland for
Um,
sure, but we have 1,000 that we
Yes,
mentioned so far.
Scotland
You know
by
what?
40, but
So we're gonna change the Google to your card then, so that I stop getting fraud.
then you get fraud.
Then you get the fraud. I am
you
tired
can't-
of replacing my cards. Okay,
You can't
this
do
is
it
gonna be
quite
my
yet, but
like
very
third
soon.
one this year.
Oh, okay. Well, as soon as I actually officially start, there's a little bit of a process.
Yeah.
Someone is retiring, but there's going to be some part-time until it's solidified. So we're still
can
talking like
ease into it,
yes, and it's all stuff that I've done, a little bit of training, but I'm very excited. So in a few months it'll be like full-time official, but still I'm
Okay.
like I'm
Oh,
happy.
That's so exciting.
Yay.
And just so everybody knows, she didn't have to wait until February. We're filming this in January, so you got it about a month ago from now. But yeah, congratulations.
That means you're probably getting
Thank
paid
you.
by now.
Oh
No. Well,
she is taking us out to dinner.
I'm going to start part-time, so I'll be getting like
Small
peanuts.
pays.
Yeah,
You'll
but
be getting
it's
some money.
better
which is
than
better
nothing.
no money.
But in about a month, I'll be like officially full-time. But as you know, it takes a few weeks for your paycheck to get all sorted. But
yeah,
luckily, I have a husband that has a job. Thank God. So we're fine.
Well,
I just wanted to let you know.
congratulations.
Yay! So excited.
Glad you waited to surprise us on here.
I mean, I'm
Oh.
not surprised you got it. Like, I
No.
knew you were going to.
Well, as we know, all of the steps were just going forward. But I still
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't even have an official contract. We talked on the phone today. So God,
You got the
something could
verbal
happen.
offer.
I got the verbal offer.
Got
So I feel okay. So I'm celebrating. I cracked open.
Yeah.
Oh, our pride and joy, our beautiful bride of Frankenstein.
Zombie.
I mean, that's worth
Frankenstein,
it.
yeah.
That's worth it.
But I
taking
I
notes.
thought that today was good. We're going to order some Thai food later. So let's
Ooh.
start and let's get really depressed and
All right.
can't wait.
Yes. So I do have a somewhat depressing story for you today. So, but also we should mention, Megan, you forgot one of the biggest plugs. It's our 50th episode
Oh
today.
my
Oh
God.
yeah, right.
Happy 50th to
Oh
us.
my God.
Not that I never
That's-
thought we'd get here. I am also just
No,
equally shocked
I'm just
that
surprised
we got
it's
here.
already there. Like we've been doing this for almost a
Yeah.
year, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
that means that this was like meeting time, becoming the brainchild, being like, let's start testing
Right.
some.
That's right.
it's
it
a
was
big deal when your
in
baby
February.
turns one.
Yeah.
Oh my
We're almost there. We're almost at one.
Yeah.
50
Ugh.
episodes. Listen,
So-
so who's been here since day one? Probably no one. But I'd
Yeah.
be curious. I'd be curious to know if someone started from the
Finley
beginning.
has, right?
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
listening.
That is
I know
true.
Maybe you've missed a
Stroken.
few along the way.
Yeah,
but
Stroken. Although he's
Yeah.
been awfully quiet.
I
Um,
know. I'll
But
message him.
to everyone that's kind of joined us along the way, like thank you so much. We do this for
Yes.
fun. Hopefully one day it becomes a career. But for now, we
can't-
just like to do
I
it.
can't remember if my friend Dylan from work, if he started with the first one or not, or like at day one. Like, he definitely started
mean,
with
if
the
you
first
went back
episode,
and listened to
but
all
like
of them, you
he's
still
still
get credit.
listening. Yeah,
Oh, I would say.
definitely. Yeah.
Oh,
And thank you
50.
for putting up with all the changes.
That's a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even my own
Wow.
mother's only listened to 2, so
Oh,
maybe
Well,
maybe more by now.
my mom is an avid YouTube watcher.
Yes.
Not so much on the podcast front, but hey, that's still
I think that's where
is
my
awesome.
mom watched too. Just
Mm.
That's fine. I
whatever you want to do.
Anyway, so just thank you to everyone. 50.
Yes, thank
Holy
you.
Thank
crap.
you.
What
We
are we
love
doing
you.
for 50?
I'm just
What are
drinking
we-
this
are
wine
we
here.
celebrating
kind of
50?
the wine day.
Oh yeah, I
is-
guess that.
It all
I
works
meant with the
out.
case.
Oh,
Sorry, I
Well,
was
I meant
not getting
with
oh,
topic.
okay. So
Hello.
we're
the
gonna
reason we're all gathered.
we're gonna kind of press pause on the celebration aspect, but this is an important case to cover for 50. I'm not sure if you remember, but back when I did the case of Tom and Eileen Lonergan in the Great Barrier Reef off the eastern coast of Australia, I mentioned there were some other true crime cases that I might talk about later, and this is it.
So it's not going to
Oh,
end well. I already know.
got you.
Well, let's just
Oh,
see
God.
what happens. So yes, this story is also from the Great Barrier Reef, and this is the case of Tina Watson. So if you'd like to go to my first photo, this is a photo of Tina, and she's holding a cat. And I picked this photo because I feel like we all have photos of this with our cats. Like,
Yes, definitely.
took
I also
some
love her
today.
dress.
the little
That
booty, like holding them, the little
Yeah.
paws.
yes,
so
you
cute.
gotta hold them right. You gotta scoop them. You have to scoop.
Yeah.
So,
you
like,
pick up.
Damien doesn't know how to hold our
Oh,
cat.
neither did Vadim.
Yeah, he holds her like
Yeah.
upside down like a baby, and she's like, "How come she doesn't like it?" It's like 'cause she's not supported at all. When
Yeah, I think
hold
because
her,
we just instinctively know,
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
hold a baby properly.
I had
with
to
kitty
teach
cats.
Vadim. He's now a lot better at it than he was at first. I was like, no, I taught him the whole scoop thing.
support
And
the butt.
now she's
Right.
okay with it. I mean, she still
Well,
hates it, but she's okay
clearly
with it.
Tina here knows what to do. So this is
Yeah.
Tina.
Yeah.
As you can see, she's absolutely gorgeous.
I know. I hate when they just look so happy.
So
I
Tina,
swear I had a dress like that. It's
I know
very
I've
like
had a
90s.
similar one.
I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, with sunflowers. I love
Sunflowers.
sunflowers.
Yeah.
So Christina May Watson was born in Germany on February 13th, 1977. She always went by Tina.
Wow. So this is
Watson
like her
being her
birthday, essentially.
Yeah, like a week before, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
She moved to Alabama as a young child, and in 1980, she was legally adopted by Tommy and Cindy Thomas. So one source I actually read, most of them just say she was adopted by by Cindy and Tommy. But it turns out, I think Cindy was her actual biological mother. So she had
Oh.
had Tina when she was married to someone else. So on the birth certificate, it was naming this other guy as her father. So when she went to Alabama to be with Tommy, her adoptive dad. We think that maybe Tommy was her real dad from the get-go, but because of the birth certificate situation, they had to legally adopt her in the U.S. So it could be
I'm
something like
confused,
that.
but it's fine.
Yeah.
Other things, just they adopted her, but I'm just giving you a little background. It seemed a little wonky.
Okay.
Mhm.
The couple also had another daughter, Tina's little sister. Tina was described as being very beautiful inside and out. She lit up a room. She made everything more fun. And yeah, like I can
Get
tell
your
from the
true
photo,
crime
she's
bingo card.
definitely.
Lit up a
I
room.
know,
Yeah.
lit up a room. I know. I was trying to find like what else did he say that wasn't like what
A
everyone
friend,
says.
a friend to
Yeah.
all. You know, obviously she loves animals.
Yes, but people thought very highly of her. And she, at all accounts, seemed like a very nice girl. She was born with a heart defect called PSVT. It's perioxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. Chantal, you can correct me on that if I'm wrong.
No, I'd have to see how the first word was spelled, but no. I think you're fine.
Yeah. We can put the word on the screen if it's a problem.
Mhm.
But PSVT is the acronym, and it causes episodes of dizziness, palpitations, rapid heartbeat, chest pain, and things like that. And it can be deadly in extreme circumstances. So she was always taking medications for that, but she didn't like how those affected her. So in 2001, she underwent heart surgery to fix the problem, and it did work. So she was
Wow.
pretty good after that.
That's scary, but
Yeah, for sure. But didn't want to live life like that anymore.
no, of course. I
Mhm.
mean, if you've been on medication your whole life and there's an option to maybe not, I totally get why she would try.
Exactly. So it was shortly after this that she met a man named Gabe Watson, hence Watson being her
Okay.
last name later on. So Gabe was a fellow student at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. When they met, she was actually in another relationship, but Gabe was
Ooh.
always interested in her and kind of pursued her after she became single. Gabe was described as being very laid back guy, calm, stellar athlete. And at a New Year's Eve party in 2002, they met again and connected, and they started dating shortly after that. So Gabe was really into scuba diving, and he introduced Tina to the sport. He really wanted her to start to partake in some of his activities. Like, if we're gonna be a couple, this is what I like to do on the weekends. Like, I want you to do it with me.
Yeah, we wouldn't have lasted.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
actually, I think it would be fun, but like, I don't know if
Sports are great. Scuba diving is so different than like playing soccer with your friends. So
yeah, I mean,
I
like, she
don't
doesn't
know.
have to do everything you want to do, but anyway, he
If it's really
pushed
important
that.
to him, because I think people who are into scuba diving and diving, it is like their whole personality. And I'm so
Uh-huh.
sorry if I'm calling you out, Trevor. Trevor dives anyway.
Oh.
He's one of our followers. But just like if you're really not into it, that would be rough. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're newly together. It sounds like she's trying it out anyway.
Well, exactly. So, her family had some reservations around Gabe, and generally they found him to be a little bit controlling. It seemed like they just, they had the vibes about Gabe, and they weren't
we like Gabe?
100% on board. Well, you'll find out.
We're gonna
Oh,
find out. I think we have to
To
form
be
our own
honest,
opinion.
there's a case for either way if you want to go
Okay.
either way. But
Okay.
Let's find out
I'm
what
leaning
either way
towards we
is.
don't like Gabe. They had some concerns about him. Her family also had concerns about her participating in scuba diving because this is like deep
Because
like,
of her heart.
waters. Exactly, because of her
Oh,
heart
right,
condition.
right.
Also, her friends described her as someone, typically when they went swimming, she didn't want to get her hair wet. She was that type of person. So to go from that to scuba diving, they're like, this isn't really her. This is not really what she wants to do. So we're
But
worried that Gabe is
she's in
pressuring her
love.
to do
Well,
these things.
Yes and no. I'm sure she wants to she loves this guy or really cares about him, so she wants to try to explore his
Mhm.
likes and his activities.
Exactly.
So I would
yeah.
certainly try. I
Mhm.
hope that he wasn't pressuring her. If she really didn't want to, I would hope that she would say, "I'm not going to do it," and that.
I would hope that too, but she was in love with him, and she like it's like, yeah, whatever you want to do, like I'll try it, like I'll be open-minded. And like there's time I love swimming. I love going underwater, but if I just wash my hair, do I want to get it wet? No.
Say no more.
No.
Like I don't want to re-wash my hair. Like
Although it depends. If I'm in salt water, like I'm totally okay with it because it gives me
'cause you get
really
the
nice beach waves, and I'm like, this is fine
You're
because
all
it's
about
also
that mermaid
freshly
life.
clean and
yeah,
then
you
also
want the
a little
mermaid
salty.
hair.
If it's a lake though, like yeah, I'm gonna
it's just
consider.
and
what
also
never
are-
gonna come out perfect after a lake.
But are we going out for dinner later, and maybe I don't want to blow dry my hair because it's humid, so my hair doesn't get wet. So there's all
there's
kinds
so
of
many.
things.
There's a lot of
things, yeah.
factors.
Mhm.
So
People that have hair get it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Well-
women, but no, there's men too that have longer hair and it matters.
not only did her family doubt that she was that interested, she was clearly not very good at it right away either. Like her instructor was like, she is the most panicky like person I've ever trained. Like she
Oh
is.
no,
It took
that's
her a
not
while
good.
to like actually get adjusted. She was taking different classes so she could scuba dive with Gabe, and she eventually learned and she passed. But it was
Because I'm sure if you have any amount of claustrophobia or anything as well, like that's not where you'd want to be.
yes.
So
And I think
I'm
she
so
frequently like
Not into this.
she would freak out and try to get to the surface
Yeah.
quickly too, which as we've
Not
on
good.
Chantal's episodes,
Yeah.
you should not do that.
Yeah.
So the next photo here, you'll see this is Gabe and Tina together. This is their
Okay.
engagement photo.
Listen, I just have to say one
Is there
thing.
I
engagement
know
photo?
someone is out of his league a little bit. But
Okay, he's punching way above his weight, and
way above, yeah.
everyone, if they have a good heart and a good soul, like I literally do not care about looks. I got very lucky with my husband, but I've dated people of all types, and it really is like, are you nice? Do you make me laugh? Are you a good person?
Yeah.
That being said, she sounds like an angel on earth, and no disrespect, he looks like a toe with a wig.
But also doesn't sound like he has the best personality.
No, now if the controlling thing was just the family's like impression, then
And we'll
some
get
family.
into that a little bit later.
Okay, but just
to
so
kinda
if
hear
if
both
he was in
sides.
fact controlling, I'm like,
Mhm.
sir, you have no business bossing anyone around,
Yeah,
especially
you-
our beautiful Tina here.
Right. Like you need to treat her like an angel, which is exactly what her family wanted and expected of Gabe. In February of 2003, about a year into dating, Gabe asked Tommy, Tina's dad, if he could propose.
A
So-
year of dating,
Yeah.
and how
Now,
old is she?
I think they were coming from religious background, and sometimes
Oh,
so they weren't
got
even
you.
living
Okay.
together until they got married type of thing. So I think that might have factored in
Okay,
a little bit. to the equation.
And also
of
just like
pushing
different
and pushing.
cultures, like if you're growing up and that's kind of how you do things, like that's
Right.
I know not uncommon, but
I think a lot
for
of
me,
Tina's friends were already getting married and engaged and stuff too. So I think people were in her community getting married
it was
rather
making
young.
sense. It wasn't like out of the realm of possibility.
But how old are they?
Mhm.
Did you
20
say?
so 25 at this, so 26, yeah, 26.
That's
They
so
just
bad.
Tina would have just
That's not
turned
so bad.
26.
Listen, I know that upsets a lot of people, but 26 is not that crazy, especially
No,
if
no,
you're
it's
coming
not that
from a
crazy.
religious.
It's just when you think about
background.
how old people like
Mhm.
emotionally mature,
Oh yeah,
and
you're not even done.
like
Your
how your
brain's still
frontal
mush.
lobe doesn't
Yeah.
form fully until you're 24. I'm like, your frontal lobe is fresh.
I know.
Okay.
And I did get the impression that
It's still soft.
it seemed like Tina might have been a little preoccupied with like getting to that next life step.
And for
Got
some
you.
people, that's a huge thing. Like getting married
Yeah.
is
Like
like the
she was
wedding is
thinking
more
she was
important
getting
than
older
anything
and
else.
like she's not engaged and stuff. I'm
Imagine
like,
thinking
girl,
you're
you're
26 and you're
26.
old.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh,
And some
but
people do. They do. They're
especially
they're
if
on
in your
this, like,
community
time
everyone
crunch.
like,
Yeah.
is getting married young, like maybe early 20s even. It's not out of the realm of
bunch
possibilities.
of teen marriages.
Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So here's a story about Gabe that you might not like. Apparently, he had bought an engagement ring a while, like earlier on, and
Okay.
he would kind of dangle it, basically, like put it in a bag and kind of threaten her, like, oh, if she looked at all, like he would take it back. And her friend's like, that's so weird. Like, why is he trying to play a mind game with you about an engagement? Either he wants to get engaged or not. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So that's kind
Yeah.
of like the weird.
That's
Something
really
weird that he
fucking
would
weird.
do.
That's just mean. It's like you're holding your love hostage. Like that's cruel.
Exactly.
And you
So
can't look like that and do that. I mean, listen, you should
No.
never do it, but like
no. But come on.
sorry.
So her friends were not like the biggest fans of him.
Oh my God. No,
Doesn't
if
seem
that was me, I would kidnap you and be like, I'm gonna save you from this.
Yeah. And it's also noted that her dad never actually said yes to the proposal, which happened 2 months later in April of 2003.
Good dad. Good dad.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't say no, maybe, but he's like, I'm not a fan, really. So he didn't want to outright give him the blessing
Sure.
either.
And maybe he tried to get around it in a kind of way, being like, you don't have to ask me for that. Like, I don't own my
Yeah.
daughter.
I just
It
don't
could have
want to
been something like
say,
that.
Which would
but
also
like
be
I'm
good. But
but like
Yeah.
I'm also not saying yes. Like I'm not saying that I love this idea.
So needless to say, Tina's family wasn't super thrilled, but Gabe's family, on the other hand, was really thrilled because they love Tina.
yeah, look what they're gonna get as a daughter-in-law.
I know. They're pumped.
They're like,
And to give Gabe and his family a little...
the toe gene will be gone.
Yes, we'll phase it out slowly.
Tina, our family has prayed for you to come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, to give Gabe and his family a tiny bit of credit, apparently Tina's family didn't like make it unknown that they weren't a huge fan. Apparently Gabe's family invited them to dinner. They're like, well, we're not marrying you, just our daughter.
Okay,
So
that's not nice.
that's no. So
That's not
like, to
nice.
give them some credit, Tina's family might have been kind of cold shoulder or not very friendly or nice to them either. So
I just like, you know what? Your kids are gonna do whatever they're gonna do, and I'm not a parent, but like, just my dad has had 4 kids, and we're all the reason why he's going gray and hairless. Sorry, Dad, I love you, but just your kids are gonna do what they're gonna do, and all you can do is be there for them, emotional support, advice, and help. So for the parents of Tina to not want to get involved is really not cool because
right.
I know that this probably doesn't end well, but assuming they get together and get married, like your families will be intertwined forever, especially if kids get involved. Like you got to just be nice. You got to be polite.
Exactly. Yeah. So it sounds like
Cordial, if you will.
they could have maybe been better too and more supportive
Like,
of Tina.
Go
and
go to dinner. Like, what's the big deal? Anywho,
right.
I know we're
exactly.
nitpicking. I just know that it's not going to be good, so I'm trying to
Yeah.
like hold on to whatever I can.
I mentioned that because it's not coming out of there is 2 sides. So putting that story out there too. On October 11th, 2003, the couple were married, and Gabe had actually been gifted a trip to the Great Barrier Reef from a family member. I think it was maybe for graduating or something.
Wow,
And
good
apparently
trip.
Tina suggested, well, since you're already getting this trip, why don't we turn it into our honeymoon? And some of her friends were like, "There's no way Tina would have suggested scuba diving for her honeymoon. Like, doesn't make
But
sense."
if her
But
husband is super into it and she's like, I love you so much for some reason,
right, and like part of the trip wouldn't be
let's go
scuba
with
diving. Like, part of she's
Yeah,
scuba diving, and the
it's
other half would be
and
like sightseeing, maybe.
you're
So
in Australia. Yeah.
and listen,
exactly,
like we don't know how it was on the inside of that relationship. She loved him
we
so
don't.
much. And
Hmm.
Damien likes to go to European grocery stores. And I'm like, let's go. I'll walk around with you.
How do
Like,
you not love it?
Right.
I love it. That's
because
like how we want to spend a Saturday sometimes.
I guess it depends, but he wants to go to Denniger's and just look around. Like, but there's Home Sense literally right there.
Well, then you need to make a day of both of it.
Yeah, I
But
will say
yes.
the right market and stuff. I do love. Like I like when I go back to Halifax, I always go to the farmers market and wander
Is that
around,
the
Mhm.
get a
one that used to have
coffee,
like
and
Pete's Frutique, like that whole big inside market?
I think you're. I think I know what you're talking about. The one that we go to. I don't think I ever had a Pete's Frutique. It's in like the old Keith's Brewery. So there's the old
Oh,
market there, and then there's a
Mm.
new market,
so girls trip.
kind of near Pier 21. Yeah. But anyway, I like the wandering, and especially on like a Saturday
Mhm.
morning, you know.
Yeah, when we were in Rome, we did that. So like, I'll go back to Rome and do it. That's fine.
Okay, yeah,
Exactly.
fine. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So 11 days after they were married, they were in Australia, October 22nd, 2003, and they were about to embark on a 7-day trip in the Great Barrier Reef, taking like dives each day, essentially.
Every day. Oh wow, so that is a lot of
Yeah.
diving.
That
It
is
is a
a
lot.
scuba
It's
diving
like half
trip.
the dive. It is just like
Yeah.
a lot. So they had to bring a lot of gear too and everything. So it's a pretty big, expensive trip, especially
I'll
for
be on the
7 nights on
beach.
a boat.
Like, take photos. I'll see you later at dinner.
Exactly. So the dive they planned to do was actually really special. So this 7-day cruise would have different sites, but one of the places they would visit in the reef is considered to be one of the well, the reef itself is considered to be one of the great wonders of the world, and here is home to one of the most pristine shipwrecks in the world, the SS
Ooh,
Yongala. So if you want to, you can look at the
Ooh.
next photo.
I do want.
I get to throw a shipwreck in as my story too.
I
Every
like it.
episode, it's kind of like Where's Waldo, but it's a shipwreck.
Yeah.
Exactly. This was a passenger steamship that sank in the reef in March 23rd, 1911, taking all 122 passengers with it.
Oh,
It got
wow.
stuck in a cyclone, and it didn't get the proper messaging, and it didn't have the like wireless radio system set up yet. I was supposed to get one like any day around then, but it
Of
wasn't
course.
installed yet, and they missed seeing like the flags, I guess, from other ships to warn people of
Shit.
the
Well,
weather. So they didn't
That's
take
sad.
shelter, and yes, it was very tragic. The next photo you'll see is just a picture of the ship today, and it's
Ooh.
sitting at the bottom of the reef. So it was discovered about
Damn.
50 years, a little over 50 years after it had initially sank, and it's a very popular dive site today. Chantel, I know you're getting excited. You would probably want to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But it's 90 feet down. It still is a very difficult dive. There's lots of
Mhm.
currents. It's not like for a brand new diver. Like you want to have some
Mhm.
experience to go on this sort of dive, or at least have
Yeah.
a trained guide with you.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy at work who he was saying that he scuba dives and he said that is the hardest part is currents. Well, one
Yeah,
of them, but like it's really up there because you really have to know what you're doing because of your oxygen levels and the amount that you're using.
exactly. So this ship is 350 feet long, and it has its kind of its own ecosystem. It's full of wildlife, so it is really quite interesting to explore. And they ended up exploring this on the first day of their cruise. Normally they waited till the end, but depending on weather, they wanted to make sure they got this wreck in. And the first day seemed to be the best day to do it. So the dive company stopped there on, like I said, the morning of October 22nd. And basically what they did would they would set up 2 ropes with like buoys on either end of the ship, and you'd go with the current or over the ship. So you'd start the first buoy, and that way the current, you went with the current, and then there'd
Oh,
be a
okay, yeah.
rope at the end. You could use that to help climb back, back up to the surface. So that's how it was all set up. It was called a drift dive.
Kind of
Okay.
sounds nice if you're not a beginner, but like she's only had training, it sounds like, and practice, not any actual dives.
She's had actual dives. I think she had 5
Okay.
dives ahead of this, but
It just sounds
she
like
was
it's
not
not.
super experienced.
So I would
So
imagine this would be a nicer one because you're just more like floating. You're not trying to
right,
fight against any current.
yeah, you're going with the current, so you're not going against it, and you can kind of check it out as you go, and it's I mean, it sounds really nice,
I
but
could
it would
Mhm.
still
maybe do
be
that.
hard, right? The dive company was required to know the skill level of the divers, and this was obviously really important because they need to know, who needed orientation dives or maybe assisted dives and things like that. So each person is supposed to be interviewed separately, but some of these rules
Whoa.
were broken a bit with Tina and Gabe. They were interviewed together,
Huh.
which he could be talking for her
Gabe
or
did all
like
the
kind of
talking, maybe?
Mhm.
potentially, yes. So Tina was classified as a green diver, which is the most junior, which makes sense for her. They may have downplayed a little bit how inexperienced she was
Green.
really, or like
Yeah.
how uncomfortable she might be, because they were offered an orientation dive and they turned it down like, no, we're fine, we're fine. Meanwhile, Gabe, he had done many more dives. He was much more experienced. He was classified as a red diver. He was also a certified rescue diver.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
But in reality, a lot of Gabe's rescue training was done in more controlled environments, not in the open ocean. So put
Okay.
that in
A
perspective. So
little
he may have
different,
been
yeah.
kind of classified a little higher than he should have been. So
I don't like where this
there's,
is going.
you're not gonna like it.
Everything's going to
Uh,
fine. What do you mean?
right? Yes.
This happens every time. Like,
Yeah.
there's a formula to how we
Mhm.
do the show, and it's never good.
No.
Don't.
No. So they started
I think
making
I'm
their
starting
initial
to remember
dive, but
this.
they only went down a few feet or meters when Gabe realized something was wrong with the battery placement in his dive computer. So when you go down diving, I know Chantel's mentioned some of this stuff, but you have a regulator to like control how much oxygen you're getting, and you also have like a dive computer that's like usually on your wrist. You can actually look at my next photo just to give an idea of what those would look like, to tell you how much oxygen you have, and helps you like when you're ascending later of how long to stop at a certain level. So it's just helping you better utilize your oxygen and understand what's going on.
Mhm.
So you had some issue with the battery maybe being in backwards, so they went back aboard, sorted it out, and at this point there's some conflicting reports too that maybe Tina added more dive weights to herself or someone helped her, but it's and all in all, she ended up going back in the water for the second time with about 20 pounds of dive weights on her. And given her size, she probably should have been at about 9 pounds of dive weights
I mean,
maximum.
she definitely looks like a very lean, like smaller girl, unless her husband is
Mhm.
incredibly tall. But he
So
seems
Gabe
like a
was, yeah, he was like 6'3" or something and big guy. And I don't know exactly her height or size, but she was a lot smaller.
So this is just pure speculation, but if she's
Mhm.
not a very experienced diver, it would only really be your husband like that would say you need to add more
Or
weight
or
for this, that, and the other.
someone.
But if they're
Someone
all
was
trained
touching her.
professionals and
Right.
Lindsay's saying that it was more weight than she needed,
Yeah.
I'm not saying
And
it
there's
was necessarily Gabe, though. Could have been somebody on the boat that said
I
something,
just
like
don't like him. So
I
I'm
know.
assuming that he's the
And I'm
controlling guy
just
that
trying to
says
be
It could have
a
been. That's
devil's
why there's
advocate, even though he doesn't
conflicting
devil's advocate.
stories about why she had it, or maybe she put it on herself and didn't realize
I don't
because
believe that
she's
for a second,
inexperienced.
Mm.
no matter what.
She wouldn't even know
All
she wouldn't
we
even know
know
what
is
she
we
doesn't know.
don't know how much she had. But I think she listened to Gabe a lot. So I wouldn't be
Mhm.
surprised if Gabe was, especially if I were experienced and I was taking my partner who wasn't experienced, I would be
You
double checking their gear before
Yeah.
we went down. Like, are you good? Like, do you have the right amount of dive weights? Is your computer working? Is your regulator working? I would be looking for all those things,
Because you
right?
know what's going on and they don't. So you're gonna be extra careful to
Exactly. At
check
least
on
do
them.
that extra double check. Like, we're about to do a dangerous dive. This is considered a very skilled dive. So it's not like we're,
Mhm.
going 3 feet under and looking at like a little coral reef. Like, we're going down deep. So 90 feet.
I just don't like Gabe. I'll
Yep.
say it right now.
Well, you're about to not like him even more. So,
Shocked.
about 30 minutes of them, on the boat, getting things working again. They went back into the water, followed by Wade, who was the dive director, and some others on the dive excursion. So, this is where Gabe's story comes into play. So, he said that it went down, they were over top of the wreck when Tina signaled to Gabe to go back to the dive line, which was kind of behind them, which would be against the current. Tina was starting to panic and she was starting to drop lower in the water. He motioned for her to inflate her tank and keep herself buoyant, but apparently she didn't do that. And he also didn't attempt to inflate it for her for whatever reason.
Were
In her
they not
pan-
close together? Sorry to interrupt you, but were they not
They
like
were
close
close.
together?
They were close together, yes, because in her panic, he says she knocked his regulator like out of his mouth or something, and he had to reorientate himself and get himself situated again. When he went back to assist Tina after doing this, she had started to sink further and further out of reach. He said he attempted to reach for her and saw her like kind of their arms out, eyes wide open. He couldn't get to her fast enough though. Like maybe he had, in speculation, maybe he had inflated his own air too much, so it was harder and harder to dive down deeper. But he was a trained rescue diver, remember? And the biggest rule,
Oh, I haven't forgotten any of this.
even if you're not a rescue diver, is you never leave your dive buddy. That is rule number 1.
Oh, and your new wife. But sorry, I'm getting very
Right.
heated because I just.
Yes,
Anyway.
you should. So his dive computer later said he never went deeper than 45 feet. So if he had gone down to try to save her more, it wouldn't have been more than a few feet or maybe a couple meters that he had went further to try to rescue her. Also, he could have deflated his vest a little bit more.
I was
And
gonna
he
say, I'm pretty sure it's not a one-way street there. Like, how do they think that they go down? They have to deflate things and then they have to inflate things.
Right. He
Okay.
also claimed he saw some fellow divers nearby and to signal there was a problem.
Okay.
But no one really reacted. And also later, it should be noted that no one claimed that this happened, or no one claimed that he had signaled to them.
I thought you were going to say that he like assumed that they would help her, and I was going to lose my effing shit. Then.
No, I think he's just like trying to signal to them to get that there's a situation,
Or saying
and
that he tried
either
to.
like he wasn't very good at it, or like, but they didn't pick up on it or even remember seeing it.
I just like, okay, you load up your tiny wife who doesn't like diving, who is not a great diver. You load her up with weight, and then she sinks, and you're like, damn, this sucks.
That's so funny you said that because later. Okay, well, let me get to that point.
Sorry. I know. I'm being so mad.
Yeah. So basically, in his version, he said he couldn't reach her, and he had to make the quick decision: do I just try to go back to the top as fast as I can to get help? And he's like, that's what he ends up doing. He's like, I can't help her. I'm gonna go to the top and get help.
But
He
he's a
said
rescue
he
diver.
Swam to the fast, yeah, and, he's not supposed to
And
be
it's
this
your
buddy.
wife. It's your wife. Sorry, I'm so mad.
And it's really like, did you do everything you were supposed to try to reach her?
I mean,
like,
clearly no.
Right.
Clearly no.
So he says he swims to the top as fast as he can, hurting his ears in the process. He's going up like at a rapid
Poor baby.
speed.
I was
I
going
know.
to say the thing. Poor baby.
So he was underwater for 7 minutes total from the time Tina and Gabe entered the water to the time he came back up. So this is really in a short amount of time. His dive computer recorded like a max breathing rate and an ascent alarm. So like it's saying that he did go up rather quickly. But we'll get
Well, he
to that
did
in a
because that was
second.
part of the act.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So he came up near a dinghy, near the boat, and signaled to a crew member that there was an emergency. A witness recalled seeing later on when they developed their camera, they saw like a diver diving down, which ended up being Wade, who was the director who went down to try to save Tina once this alert was signaled. You actually go to my next photo. This is kind of really disturbing. So,
Oh my God.
yeah. So Wade Singleton, that was the trip director, he ended up diving down to rescue Tina, who was laying on the bottom of the ocean floor. This was captured on film by one of the other divers. So that's Wade swimming towards Tina and the other diver turning around to see what was going on.
Jesus.
Oh, this is really like,
And they
it's
didn't
not
see
graphic,
any bubbles coming out of
obviously.
her regulator or
No.
anything at this point. So she's just lying motionless, unconscious on the floor.
Oh my God.
And this would have been probably, this was less than 10 minutes from the time she entered the water.
And what depth is she at right there? Do you know?
In about 90 to 100 feet, probably.
Okay.
Because the
It's not
shipwreck's at
nothing,
90
but like,
feet,
but
so.
look how much light there is. Like, it's not
Right.
you
But
know,
it's
like,
still
it's very-
something where, but Wade like took her up as quickly as possible, like kind of keeping her airway open. Normally he wouldn't go up that fast from that depth, but in order to save
It's
her,
an
he risked
emergency.
getting the bends to bring her up.
Mhm.
Oh, so this guy
did it. Risked it.
Yeah, the
but not
rescue.
his-
Yeah,
the
the dive
rescue,
director.
not his, not her
And
husband.
also,
Just to be
it
clear, not her
seems like
husband. He didn't risk
he
anything.
actually
Seems
dove
like
down,
not even a
rescued
moment's
her,
notice.
brought
Like,
her back up in 2 to 2.5 minutes, whereas Gabe took almost the same amount of time just to get from where Tina and he were back to the surface.
Wow.
So he obviously went a lot slower
Slower.
than
well,
Okay.
the
Wade.
jury's reached a verdict.
So-
Actually, to be honest, we reached the
was-
verdict 15 minutes into this episode. So
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep going. So one witness actually recalled seeing a diver had drifting downwards and another diver coming over. It looked like he had put its arms around her, maybe to try to hold her up, but it wasn't sure. He then saw them separate and saw Tina start to sink, and said that maybe she had bumped his regulator. But that's kind of what, from a far away observation, could see that at one point they were
So-
together,
but
and
but
then
she was
she's
being
drifting
held.
away.
She was being
Right,
held.
but the witness couldn't tell for sure if she's being held as trying to hold her up or something maybe more sinister.
I mean, I've
Okay.
already
It
made
was
my mind
witnessed.
so long ago.
Yeah.
So
Right. So, like I said, Wade, he quickly went down, had the rescue regulator with him to give her oxygen, dropped her weight, says something, her husband could have done, potentially at least tried, and got her to the boat where they started to attempt to resuscitate her. So she was underwater for a total of 10 minutes.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and they tried, I think, for up to 45 minutes to resuscitate her, and it didn't, unfortunately, she wasn't able to be saved.
Yeah, because they probably don't even know how long she would have had the regulator out of her mouth for, right?
Now, the interesting thing is they noticed no gush of water from her mouth or foaming, so she wasn't really showing like signs of drowning.
huh.
Gabe was also taken to the surface, but he ended up being on the second ship. So like I said, there was actually 2 boats, one at each end, so
He
that way
didn't
the
even go
divers
with his
could-
wife.
So I think he came up and then went to the other end or something, whereas when they brought his wife up, it was closer to the other boat.
Okay,
So that was one
but
thing.
it makes
seemed
sense
like
because
when he
there's one at
came
one
up,
end.
he might
yeah.
have came up that way because with the current it would have been potentially easier. I'm not sure, but either way, he
sounds
was
like
on the other
to a
boat.
layman that he purposely went as far away from her as possible. That's just what it sounds like to me.
Well, so some people thought that was really weird. It's like they're trying to save your wife over in this boat, and you're not even
And you're-
trying to get
yeah,
to that boat.
that's-
Like,
Unreal.
so he later claimed that he just couldn't like witness that. It was too stressful.
Oh my God.
But people were already starting to think like that's odd. Like what's going on? You didn't even try to go to her. And like his whole claims of like trying to get assistance and stuff were, because some people were already a little bit skeptical about what he was saying.
Yeah, me too.
So apart from like, not wanting to bear witness to that, like people did say like afterwards that there was mixed reviews on his reaction. Some people said he looked upset. Others said they saw him kind of like with some people who were playing cards. He was later addressed the other passengers in the ship saying, "My wife died today. This sucks."
wow, this sucks.
I don't know
wanna
how
say
he
really,
said
really
it, but
quick.
that was apparently what he said. So Megan, when
Well,
you said
There's no way that you can actually say it any
I
positive
feel
way.
like saying this sucks. Like,
Okay, you
no,
never know how you're
That's
gonna
like saying like,
react.
oh, I didn't
Well,
get
exactly.
tickets to the concert I wanna go to. This
However-
sucks.
However, of all the things to say, if someone were to say over and over in disbelief, "My wife died today," my wife, like I can see that, like you're in
Yes,
shock.
yes.
Yeah.
But to be like, this
This
sucks.
sucks.
There's no way to spin that. If I was his PR firm, I'd fire him because I'm like, I don't know what to do for you. I can't help you.
Yeah.
So either way, like that in itself is not an indication of guilt, but
Well,
it is very
I mean,
weird
damning.
and doesn't look great on his part. So those had witnessed the incident just said like something's not really making sense.
Something's up.
But Gabe's story, it seemed like his story didn't change when he'd been interviewed either. It's just he's adding more details and stuff too. So some people took that as that's kind of odd that you're now adding more things later.
Mm-hmm.
But again, not definitive proof. So Tina was examined. It wasn't clear how she died at first. So they ruled out her heart condition. So it was nothing to do with that. It wasn't that she like vomited or anything like that. And one thing to note is if she did sink, and normally you would just be neutrally buoyant in the water if you were just a human in the ocean. Because
Mhm.
she was sinking, either she had too much weight or no oxygen that would cause her to sink.
Both?
Maybe. So the coroner ultimately saw evidence of an air embolism, so air entering the blood's circulation system, but gave
Oh.
the final verdict of drowning. So I guess maybe on the bottom, some water did enter her lungs and things
There
like
is
that.
something called dry drowning. I heard it on a podcast or no, maybe I think this happens to drowning victims that are
Mhm.
children sometimes
Okay.
that they do drown and it is by water drowning, but something about how the body reacts, it kind of expels water, but I don't know. It's very clear that
Well, I
I
guess
mean, she died of something either lack of
right.
oxygen, which is suffocation, or drowning, which is obviously
Hmm.
inhaling water. Like,
Exactly. So it was kind of weird. I know the air embolism thing I mentioned. I guess it can happen when you're diving, getting like
Chantel
air
would know.
in your.
She's our diving expert now, it seems.
Tell us
So
everything,
close.
Chantal.
How
No,
many
I mean, it
martinis do
just
I
it
need to
it
die
makes
underwater?
sense.
Right. So, but the coroner could not indicate one way or the other if it was an accidental or intentional death. So
Does
that was still
she
up for.
have any oxygen left in her tank?
So she actually, I think she did, but she used quite a bit of oxygen. So that comes another theory that if he had turned off her oxygen, so much of it was used, doesn't make sense that he turned it off. But
But
other
couldn't he
people
have like
say it could
held
have.
the respirator thing and like expelled oxygen out of it? I don't know. I don't know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
possible.
about. Does that make sense?
Or
I
maybe
don't
he
know.
just took it out of her mouth and yeah, it was still running and she was panicking. So when she did have it on, she was using even more oxygen than normal. And we all know that she was a panicky diver.
Well, especially if you're
So,
sinking and you're still conscious, like holy shit, her heart must have been going a mile a minute.
right. So obviously Dave did not continue the dive trip. He ended up going ashore and his mother came out to stay with him. Uh, he was under some suspicion from the get-go from all this though. Gabe did not
You know,
wanna
normally the
contact
husband is.
Tina's family, which in some ways I kinda get, like,
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
do I
wait.
wanna call her dad and tell
Hold on.
her I didn't
You said
save
that
his
he
daughter?
didn't? He didn't contact her family.
He got his dad, David, to contact them instead to share the terrible news.
Okay,
Mhm.
maybe because he's also not close to them. I could kind of
Well,
see that being a
he
thing, and he's
knows that they
young and he's
hate
dumb and
him.
they hate him, and exactly. And it's
Right.
just
This is
like
not gonna make them like
now
him
I'm gonna,
anymore.
And
yeah.
and
That's for
and
sure.
although we don't know if he did this on purpose, all intents and purposes, he is the reason why she is dead. You
Hmm.
know, it's like he's the
Hmm.
diver, he may be forced or he was there, he didn't protect their daughter. I'd be
Right.
fucking terrified to talk to their parents too, honestly.
Exactly. Um, so they actually uh, Tina's family was kind of the last to know, really, because he
Oh,
didn't
that's not
That's
okay.
tell them at
horrible.
first. And when Tina's family tried to contact Gabe's dad again to get more information, he just stopped answering his phone. So they went through like their
Mhm.
reverend instead. So it was all like Tina's family was rightfully frustrated. Like we can't even talk to you about what happened. We have questions.
Yeah.
And apparently, like they asked, they weren't immediately suspecting he did anything either. They just knew that their daughter
This doesn't
had
help.
had an accident. Right,
Mhm.
exactly. So the tensions between Gabe's family and Tina's family were definitely at an all-time high now at this
Hmm.
point. One thing that had happened was after for the funeral arrangements, Gabe did not want her family to have any say really, which really frustrated
It's
matters
their
further.
daughter.
Right, but he had power of attorney,
Oh
so
my
he
god, he's known
ultimately
her for
had.
2 minutes. Sorry, I'm just getting
I
so
know,
upset.
I know. He's known her for like a year and a bit, and like maybe a little bit longer, but they've been dating for a short time, married for 11 days.
Jesus.
He did weird things though. So
I'm
at
shocked.
the
What?
wake, he took her engagement ring off her finger.
Okay.
So like, am I trying to pawn it or something? What's going
Yeah, like what the
on?
fuck?
So that was like at bare minimum, not great taste to do
That
that
is
at her
so
wake.
fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
at her wake, like you could have asked for that before that as well.
Or
right.
after, like she's not going to go immediately to or
Exactly.
there's
Unless
sometimes
they do
time.
that,
There-
but yeah.
there's time. There's time.
Exactly.
Oh my God, Gabe.
There was also her family ended up putting up like a camera because someone was removing flowers like from her grave later on,
Huh?
and apparently, and actually, it was Gabe. They caught him on camera, and he later
What?
said it was because she didn't like plastic flowers, and that there's some tension with the family, so he was just annoyed, so he was taking them off her grave. So her family was again not happy about this. Another story about Gabe.
More.
Apparently one of their mutual friends, at first felt sympathetic towards him, but got a Christmas card from him that year. It was a picture of Tina and him at their wedding. And the card said something to the effect of, "Oh, who's that handsome guy next to Tina?" "Oh, that's me." That's what the card said. Isn't that weird?
What the fuck?
So
I
the
don't
friend was
like
like,
it.
Why
"Yeah,
was
this is
Tina
disgusting."
with this man?
You
Sorry.
know what? Not everyone makes the best decisions.
Listen, in our 20s, we all made a mistake, okay?
Exactly.
I don't think we've ever reached like. Although again, we're not blaming Tina. Obviously, it's just holy shit, man. Like
Now, he was Gabe's family. They said he was just a
beside
mess,
himself.
like the shell of a person. He had a really hard time. So we're getting that from his side of the family. Now, people do weird things and grieve, but
Yes,
some
you
of this
never know
stuff
how
doesn't
you
make
react.
sense. Right.
I feel like when I'm gonna be grief stricken next, I'll send a Christmas card. That makes everyone uncomfortable. That's what I'll do.
You better.
You should actually send them in advance if you can. That way,
Yeah.
one day we'll get them.
Ahead of my death, I'll do my very best.
Right. If you know, I mean, if you're on your deathbed, you're like, "Oh, I'll send out my Christmas cards now."
I'll reach out to my sister. I'm like, Lily, use Photoshop.
You
know
send them
what
out
to
like,
do.
"P.S. I'm haunting you." Haha.
Yeah. Well,
Turn around.
Well, we heard.
Yeah.
We heard about that woman who, like, I guess either knew that she was dying or whatever the case was, and she made like Ouija board invites to her wake.
Oh,
It's like keep in
yes.
touch. We read about that right in some article.
That's something I could see you doing.
Oh, 100%.
So this is interesting. Ahead of the wedding, Tina actually had talked to her dad about adding Gabe to a life insurance policy because Gabe had mentioned now that they were going to be married, he should be the beneficiary of any life insurance policy, and they should probably up it too. So he wanted the amount increased.
Seems like a good time to
Tommy-
pour a top
Yeah.
up on this wine here.
Tina's dad was like, "That's weird because you're like in your mid-20s, and like what mid-20-year-old is thinking about life insurance policies?"
I don't even have life insurance policies.
I
yet.
still don't have it.
I
in
should.
my
You
have
mid
kids,
to late
Lindsay.
30s.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
should.
Oh, no, actually, I do have one now through work. I forgot.
Okay.
But it's not
God.
one like work gave it to me. I didn't seek it out.
You're like, oh, thank God. I keep forgetting to do this.
Right. So yeah, my kids will get
Oh.
something if I bite the dust. But
Like
yeah, it's not something that you're really actively thinking about when you're like 26, probably.
unless you're.
No,
Anyway,
I
I'm
wasn't
not gonna say
I wasn't married at 26.
Unless you're
so-
going to murder the person that you're
Well,
marrying.
that's what I was
Oh,
gonna
that is
say.
an interesting
Yeah,
thing.
no,
So
I'll say what you won't.
So Tina's dad just told her, you know what, like it's gonna renew like later in the year anyway. Let's just deal with it later. Like enjoy your wedding, your honeymoon. It's not like a rush to to do this. So it makes me wonder though that even though this wasn't changed, did Tina to appease Gabe just tell him, we're on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would say, because I
Mhm.
mean, we haven't heard, maybe you go into this, but we haven't heard anything about like a temper or anything. But if he was controlling, one can assume that controlling behavior, there could be some intensity.
Right.
And she
Now,
may have
some
been like,
people
he'll
did
freak
report
out.
that he did kind of have a temper with her at times as well. So there
Shocked.
could have, go along with the controlling.
Yeah,
She didn't do it.
just
he
to
wanted
avoid
her to
the
do.
fight. Yeah,
Right.
he'll just say, oh, well, yeah, don't worry, it's all done.
So Tina's life insurance at this point was estimated to be about $34,000, which is equivalent to her 1 year salary at the time. So Gabe had wanted her to change it to something more like $175,000.
Just a small
But
jump.
The
one
premiums on that would be
insurance
outlandish.
advisor that apparently they spoke to had stated that Gabe was looking to do it after the wedding, maybe early December. So he had that in his notes that it wasn't like Gabe had said himself that he was looking to do it later anyways. So that's his evidence against it. But he could have been smart enough to pre-plan that too, I think. Like talk to one
100%.
guy and say, well, he has notes that, we said we're going to do it later. Or maybe he really thought after that Tina and her dad had figured it out and added him. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions there I would have.
Yeah, that's
but
not
not enough
evidence that
proof
he
either
didn't do
way.
something. It's evidence that he's hunting for the best price, trying to
Right.
get the most insurance that he can.
Because people would argue if he wasn't going to get a payout, what would be his motive to kill his new bride?
That's what I was wondering, because I wasn't even thinking that there would have been life insurance. I'm like, why does he want to kill her? Like, there can't be any money.
Right.
Like,
Like,
there's been no
you just
mention of
married her. Like,
money.
if you don't want to be with her, just don't marry her 11 days
Yeah,
ago.
just don't marry her. Yeah, exactly. So
Like,
Kind of off topic, but not. There is a
Mhm.
really great YouTuber. It's called That Chapter, which you guys maybe have seen.
no.
So his name is Mike, and he's from Ireland, and he's
Mhm.
just such a good presenter. And he does his like all kinds of really awesome stories. He has a podcast now, but originally it was like a YouTube format.
Okay.
And every time life insurance comes up, which like spoiler alert is 9 out of 10 times, he has this like montage of like life insurance, and he's like just it's crazy, and this makes me laugh because it's so obvious. He put together
Yeah.
a clip show for it because it comes up so often. Like be original.
Okay. Well, I'll have to
Not
check
not
that-
you,
that-
Lindsay. Don't
No,
you
no.
don't you think about this, but you're like, okay, I will.
No. No, I meant I will check it out
You're
this
not-
channel.
when
if
I'm
you
on
recommend
Twitter,
it,
I
it's
will be
good.
original.
I meant check out the channel.
Okay.
If you're saying it's good, I don't know if you're
Oh,
saying it's bad.
he's fantastic. He's so
Okay,
funny.
okay. Then
And
I will
he
check
he,
that
he
out.
tries to add like he takes it very seriously, but it makes it like interesting to learn. But he
Okay.
does poke fun. Mostly he just talks shit on the bad guys, and so we're all about that.
Okay,
over
well,
here.
please remind me. Let's send it to me in the chat later. Okay.
Yeah, I'll text it because if I chat, then Chantal gets mad because the keys are loud.
Yep. Oh, right. Yes. Clackety clack. Anyway, so if the payout was only $30K and Gabe knew that, it wouldn't make sense financially because they spent, $7K just on the diving part of their honeymoon, and
Well,
he had
yeah, that he didn't even
actually
get to do.
he put like I think $12,000 towards Tina's debt so that they could buy a house and like all these other things. Like the amount of money he had just recently spent
That's weird.
Weird,
on
yeah.
That makes it
her
less
or like for them. He wouldn't even recoup that money if it was only $30K. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if it was only that, like it wouldn't make sense. But if he had thought it was changed, which I haven't, based on the stuff I've read, I don't know if I got enough evidence to say definitively he did or did not know. Right.
Okay.
So anyway, that's just one part of what could be a motive. So Gabe was interviewed before leaving Australia, and ultimately he was allowed to leave because he told a story. He told a story about having really strong currents, and he wasn't used to that. So even Gabe, even though he was an experienced diver, he let them believe he was probably better at diving than he really was. So he might have had some issues
Oh.
with some of the currents at this type of dive. It was a hard dive.
Okay. So maybe he was in over his head, but
Right.
he wanted to like play that role like, oh no man, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
a
like,
big
I
tough
got
guy.
it. Like, I mean, he's 26 as well. He's probably dumb to some degree because he only,
I
you know,
mean, yes. Yeah.
you don't know as much as you think you know at 26.
No, to be fair, you
And-
know virtually nothing. Now that I'm
Yeah.
10
Right.
years older, yeah, you know nothing.
And I still
But
know
just because
virtually
they
nothing.
let him leave, it's more like, hey, we don't have any evidence to hold him here. So it wasn't he was
Yeah.
off the hook either, though. So
Yeah.
an investigation was still going on, and Tommy, Tina's dad, as well as other people, were suspecting something more sinister that may have happened here. So Gabe's back in the U.S. He's seemingly living his life. He ends up meeting someone new and gets married a few years later. I think maybe
Wait,
5
did
years
he
later.
use the same engagement ring?
I do not know.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I feel like he would have pawned it, though, to be honest.
Mm.
But who knows? He seems like also the guy who could easily have saved it for the next one. Also, his new wife apparently looked just like Tina.
He has a type.
He's a type. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And
So
like
anyway.
she's cute. Like Tina's a
Non-thumbs.
beautiful person. So
Right. I'm just surprised maybe two beautiful ladies went for this guy.
okay.
Wow.
Now I don't. He must have the biggest dick in the world. I don't understand. Like, make it make sense. I don't get
I
it.
know. But, he might just be, he's controlling, he's overbearing. And if you're like, I don't know.
Maybe
He
he's
could
super
lure
nice at the
someone in
beginning
that-
and like love bombs you,
Right,
and then you're
maybe.
all in, and yeah, who knows?
Yeah. And he did kind of do that with Tina because she had turned him down before. I know she was in relationships, but he was kind of like, I don't know, waiting in the
Yeah.
distance until she was single and he pounced.
Like
So,
a ghoul in the
yes.
shadows waiting.
So Tommy had contacted police in Alabama, who contacted police in Queensland. He's like, no, I don't want this to be let go.
Just
Like
go
something
away.
needs to be investigated here. The police there were investigating it though, and about 9 months after Tina died, they declared it a criminal investigation.
Yay.
So yes. So they did a really thorough investigation. They looked into like the weather conditions. Gabe's statement were analyzed. One theory, and they tested different things too, like could you turn off the oxygen in theory in this time and things like that. So one theory was that Gabe had turned off Tina's regulator, held her underwater, like it's a bear hug that people have witnessed, until she died or at least went unconscious, and allowed her to sink to the bottom after that.
Because she
And
had the
him
extra
diving down a
weights.
little bit further was him just turning her air back on, so that way it looked not suspicious, like that
Oh.
it had been deliberately turned
Yeah.
off. So that in combination with maybe her having too much weights, he could have sank her that way as well. Some other experts say like it just couldn't have happened in the amount of time that this all took place, but some people are
Well,
saying it could, some people are saying
But
it
like,
couldn't.
but something obviously did happen. So
Right.
who's to say that he didn't fuck around? And
And
also, if he
witnesses
planned
and
a little
Gabe
bit,
himself, you said like her eyes were like open, like she looked panicked and like reaching for him or something, and
I
she's
hope
going
that
back.
she wasn't
God.
conscious and she didn't know what was happening when she died,
I
because
don't know.
I can't even
I feel like it would
imagine.
take her. I don't know how long it takes someone to like drown or suffocate, but it would be at least over a minute.
But hopefully she was
So-
like confused and passed out or
But I
something.
think
I don't
she.
know.
I mean, maybe she was unconscious, and then at the time we wait on the bottom for Wade to rescue her. That's another like 2.5 minutes. That in that time, she just could have lost too much oxygen and not made it. So
Holy shit, that's
I
freaking sad.
think I mentioned this earlier that Tina had used a lot of air while in the dive, which could have been someone maybe having a panic attack. So maybe did she start to panic? Did she lose consciousness? Did she actually grab Gabe's regulator in her panic? Potentially.
Well,
hit it
if
or
I was
whatever,
being
yeah.
murdered by my husband, I may have been thrashing. So whatever she did do was her
Yeah.
trying to like
Right. So they're
rectify.
saying with the amount of oxygen she used, like, could he have turned it off? But I mean, if she was panicking, also potentially panicking while being attacked.
Maybe he didn't need to do anything. It was all about the I'm gonna scare you and hold you
Yeah.
under until hopefully it runs out, or
Mhm.
like he's more of the expert than we are. So I feel like
Exactly.
he could have known what to do to make this look like an accident.
Right. So other evidence is that Gabe said he went to the surface as fast as he could. And took a Gabe about 2 to 3 minutes to surface from 45 feet.
45 feet.
Wade was able to go twice the distance to the bottom, retrieve Tina, and go back up in just 2.5 minutes. So it's like, well, where's the urgency?
Now, Wade is not a literal ocean god. He's a man. He's an
Right.
awesome man, apparently.
Yeah. He's not
so-
Aquaman though.
Oh, God,
It would have been a
Jason.
lot faster if he was, but
It just seems like Wade was it kind of not the same, but reminds me of the Diane Downs story, which Lindsay may remember. I feel like I don't know.
Yes.
So I'm not going to ruin it in case we ever cover it, although it's not near the water. But
It
this
actually
mother-
is, isn't it? Did she try to drown her kids?
no,
Oh, that's the other
So-
woman.
so, yeah, it's happened a
Oh.
lot. So her kids are
La
extremely
Llorona.
injured. I'm not going to tell you, but they're extremely injured in the backseat of her car. And she gets to the hospital and she's like, I was rushing to get my kids. Like, please save my kids. And someone saying, like, I was behind her and she was driving under the speed limit. And it's
Jesus.
proven
Right.
that she was letting her kids die in the back seat. So she was like, no, I'm going to the
Mhm.
hospital. But she was driving like, 30 miles an hour or whatever.
Exactly.
Or whatever
The-
slow is. I don't know, miles.
In
help
defense
me.
of Gabe, they said that he got caught in the currents and was swimming more diagonally. But
Whatever. No.
again, you've still done 50 plus dives. Like you should know surface up.
And also, you're not motivated. Like, your wife is
And if-
drowning.
Right. And if the other diver could literally go all the way down to the bottom, retrieve her, put the regulator on her, get her in position, and go back up in that like same amount of time, it just
Yeah, that's why I just
I don't
I
know.
feel so dumbfounded by the oh, she just keeps going down and I'm just not gonna do
And
anything.
45
It
feet is
doesn't.
not crazy deep.
He's not even
like,
at the dive.
right.
He's not even
Yeah,
at the dive that they're
That's a
supposed to
good
be
point.
doing.
right. So
So
it's not really making sense at all to me. And I feel like even I could swim up without even flippers, like in less than 3 minutes, 45 feet.
But
Like, that's
again,
crazy.
yeah.
even if you're like just okay, if someone that you love and care about is in trouble, I feel like that adrenaline kicks in.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's proven you can do a lot more than you think you can when your
Mhm.
brain's at 100% capacity. Whereas
Exactly.
he actively, it sounds like, was like, whoa, this is like too much. I'm gonna head
Oh,
back up and
you're just slightly out of reach. So
Yeah. You're not within
sorry.
arm's length.
also, I'm gonna go to the other boat, the one away from you, because I'm so full of shame of what I've done that I don't really want to be
Yeah.
around you right now. And
Right.
like, this
I mean,
sucks.
that sucks. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My wife died and
Oh,
that sucks.
Yeah. Still really
honeymoon
bad too.
ruined. Worst
Oh, yeah.
vacation
Womp
ever.
womp.
I wanted
Yeah.
to go scuba diving.
She ruined my
She
trip.
ruined it. Yeah.
Oh my God, you guys. So many
Is
experts
there any
believe
drywall I can punch? Well, I gotta look around.
Many experts believe that he could have reached Tina with just a few kicks and that he should have been able to save her by dropping her weights, sharing a regulator, or if they have I think an extra one on them anyways, and doing a controlled ascent with her. So many people just aren't buying this story, as am I.
And they're all divers as well, so they're seeing the same situation. They're like, but
Exactly.
like you couldn't,
And as a certified rescue diver, he of all people should have known that
All
you
of those
don't leave
things.
your person and you should at least try these things. It doesn't
Oh
seem
my
like
God.
he just seems like he panicked and went up.
Just seems so fucking obvious to me. Like, I'm
Right.
sure
Yeah,
we're
I
not
have
alone. I'm
I
sure.
have no idea. Like the first time that you said it, I'm like, why is he going up? I don't understand. It's just she
Right.
kicked a
And it
regulator out
really
of his
could
mouth,
make
so he
sense, I think, that if he was attacking her, that she tried to fight back and knocked his regulator. Because someone did witness his regulator being out or something. Like
Okay.
someone witnessed that, or they thought that's what they saw. But it's not clear from their angle with definitive proof if he was trying to help or harm.
Herm.
It's
Yeah.
underwater, right? And it's not super clear.
Well, yeah,
and
because that's the thing is that if she's no matter
some
what,
distance
she hit it
away.
out somehow. And
Exactly.
was it in a
Exactly.
panic or was it in defense? Or was it both?
Oh, this
Right.
makes
A
me
panic
so
defense.
mad.
So, as time went on too, it was kind of like all the witnesses at this point had left the trip and they live around the world. So it's harder to kind of track people down. And like I said again, like at the time, Gabe had claimed to ask people for help, but no one recalled him asking or seeming panicked or anything like that. Now, one thing of the evidence that they should have gone was Gabe's transmitter. So they only had his dive computer. So they were missing part of the story by not having all his gear and things like that.
okay.
So Tina's family was very vocal about their theory of foul play back in Alabama. But again, one of the biggest issues was, why would Gabe do this if it wasn't for insurance? There really wasn't another motive on the table. In 2005, Gabe actually tried to collect insurance for his trip that was interrupted.
I thought you said there was no
So-
motive, although that's not the
Right.
same thing.
He
but
didn't
still.
realize that if you were, if this happened while diving, that's considered a dangerous activity. So it was null and void to get any of his
Oh.
money back.
Loser.
Yes, exactly. Also, his lawyers recommended maybe don't pursue minor inconvenience fees over this because it's
Like,
not going to
Gabe,
look great.
maybe just
for
can
your-
you just chill out? Because
That was
like,
probably
I
their
feel
biggest
gave her,
problem.
like,
Like, back
super
to be
suspicious.
his lawyer would have been so annoying because he was so dumb about so many things, like stealing flowers from the grave. You take her engagement ring. You
Offer
taunt her
corpse.
family.
Could you imagine
send
being the lawyer
these
and having to tell
Christmas
them?
cards. Yeah, like you're an idiot, which he did admit that he was not always. He did not address his pain very well. So
The ring, the ring, just the ring. I
off her
don't.
dead body. Like,
Did
come
he have to
on.
get some butter and slide it off? Like,
No, because you
just-
would lose your water weight, so it'd probably come off pretty
Chantel,
easily.
stop ruining the movie moment in my head, okay?
Chantel, if I'm gone before you can take off all my jewelry.
Okay, I will.
Didn't we talk
Before
about
we
how
get you burnt up.
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about how when we die,
And
we're
then
gonna
make
Maybe
leave
give one to
jewelry
my daughter.
we're gonna be in really inconvenient positions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when rigor sets in, it's like, what a nightmare is this?
yeah. That's
They
the
have to make a
plan.
whole different casket for you. It's like a
Yeah.
starfish.
Yeah.
It's like, why is this like an oblong shape? It's like you don't even want to see the body. I can't even begin to tell you.
It's okay. You're gonna be a
It's
bog
custom.
body anyway, so we'll just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
It's fine.
Or pottery, as we've discussed, or diamonds.
Right.
Diamonds.
Maybe we can do all three. A little bit up here, a little bit
Listen, I
there.
don't think you need a lot to do it. So yeah.
I have a whole list of things. We
Yeah.
need more bodies, honestly.
So during this whole time, Gabe had been avoiding returning to Australia for obvious reasons, because he would have
Maybe
probably
he was
been
wanted there?
indicted maybe for
Oh,
murder.
Gabe,
So
we're
he'd
gonna
been avoiding,
arrest
and
you.
I think they were trying to work on trying to extradite him there, but it's a process, right? It's a
yeah.
lot.
Especially from the States, I'm sure.
Plus the
Right.
time difference. It's crazy.
They're asleep and
But
I'm
in
awake.
2009, he said he's voluntarily returning to Australia, and Tina's family immediately was like, "All right, what kind of deal did you
I
just
was
make?"
like, or what do they have on you?
Right, there's no way you're just gonna voluntarily go back. So they go back to Australia. He pleads guilty to manslaughter, not
This is
guilty
where I
to
thought
murder.
this was gonna go.
Yeah.
Because I was
And
It's really hard to prove. It's
her
really
family
hard
is
to
really
prove.
pissed about this, because they weren't really informed that, and they didn't tell them it was even a deal, but they're like, we know it was a deal. Like, otherwise, why would he have come back? And this was
Obviously.
solved like immediately. Like he pled guilty to manslaughter. The court accepted it right away. They're like, yeah, you knew, like, this was a deal, probably made in advance, even if they didn't admit it.
No, it
Mhm.
definitely was.
So he was
That's-
sentenced to 4 years, but only had to serve 18 months in Australia. And so basically he stayed there, and then upon release, he was just deported back to the US. Meanwhile, though,
4
Tina's
years?
family
Maria,
and her
this
lawyers were
is-
like, no, we're not letting this go at this point. Like, we want to pursue this further. And they were actually able to get a case in Alabama, because they believed it was premeditated, and that part of that, like, insurance stuff,
Oh.
all originated in Alabama. And because they're different sovereign states, it's not like
Mhm.
double jeopardy. So
Mhm.
you can be charged in a completely different country again.
Again, that movie just
Love
so
it.
good.
So good.
Yes. So that's what happened when Gabe eventually went back to Alabama. And Gabe did admit as well. He said he wanted to save her, but he did not do enough to ensure her safety. That was kind of what.
How many
his
years later
final
he
thing.
says this? No, that's just because people have been saying that for
That was during his
over a decade.
2009, I think, manslaughter plea. So anyway, the prosecutor in Alabama brought the case to trial in 2012, a charge of murder. And so again, that's because I stated part of the case probably happened in Alabama.
Mhm.
And they brought in witnesses, but unfortunately the witnesses weren't even that helpful at that point, because they weren't really able to say, I think, one way or the other. And one even said it looked
Probably
like maybe
so
he was
long
trying to help
ago.
her.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and are these witnesses that were American that were there?
I don't know if they were American or not. They were just from probably all parts of the
But like
world.
to come all the
so-
way to
I can-
Alabama, I'm like, I find that.
I can imagine that's very difficult though if you're like somebody who thinks that you saw something but you're not quite sure exactly what you saw, and somebody on trial
Right.
for murder, you don't want to be like, yes, I definitively saw this, because you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know, and this was in
Mhm.
It looked
2003
weird,
and like
but
it
I'm
seemed
under
weird,
He was
but I
grabbing
don't
her, but like, I can't say
know.
for sure.
I don't know if she
so-
was panicking. I don't know if it was to
Right.
like stop her from panicking, and then shit happened. Like, yeah, there can be so many
Right.
things.
And all this
in
stuff about people saying like, oh, some people saying he wasn't like the grieving husband. Like, at the end of the day, that's not evidence
Like,
that
Yeah.
you can use.
No.
So
just a shitty person,
ultimately,
but-
this case
That's the trouble
resulted
with
in
media.
an acquittal,
Well,
because
I
they just
figured
didn't
that
have the
was-
evidence to prove
Yeah.
it was premeditated. And so unfortunately, he is a free man as of now, probably forever now, because he's been tried. And
Well, I hope
He-
that he has athlete's foot all the time.
I know,
I hope you have a chronic UTI. Just-
With your average size to small penis.
it is weird, like, for him to like, why marry this girl just to kill her? So I think I want to know more about the insurance, like, and what
Yes.
he knew.
I want to know
what
if
he knew.
okay, I have a couple questions. One, was he in debt, perhaps? Like maybe it was gambling stuff or investment stuff.
From what I
or-
read, he actually was kind of helping Tina with some of her debt side. So I don't know if he was, but
that doesn't fit
he could
into
have
my narrative.
still. Okay, yeah, I know.
Okay, the second one, was he
Mhm.
having some kind of affair? Was there someone else
That was
involved?
not mentioned, no.
And it was a
Um,
few years before he got married again,
That
so it doesn't
also
sound like
doesn't
it was right
fit into
away.
the
right. Like, he
narrative.
did meet someone not that long afterwards, but they didn't get married right away.
I thought maybe it was like
So
a Scott Peterson situation.
Listen,
yeah, no.
I feel like there is a possibility. The insurance thing obviously makes it feel weird. But like
Mhm.
otherwise, I could completely see him going down there. She's panicking, trying to stop her to get her from panic, maybe even doing the bear hug to try and get her to calm down,
And he's like,
to
it's too
get her
much for
up.
me.
No, but maybe they said they saw the regulator out. She knocked out the regulator, and maybe at some point during there, she drowned, and he
Mhm.
panicked in the sense of like, well, they're going to think that I did this on purpose. I need to
Mhm.
get up there and get somebody to find her, say I couldn't, whatever happened. You know what I mean? It just sounds almost like
Yeah.
he panicked.
Mhm.
Like maybe it wasn't premeditated, but it happened, which is
Yeah.
probably why they
Right.
did the manslaughter
Yeah.
charge, because it's likely an
And maybe
accident.
he knew he put her in a situation that wasn't good as well.
Yeah,
Like,
like this is my fault. This is why she's here. This is all the there is
But he could
that
have brought her
yeah.
up right
chance,
away,
but
though, and that would have been more like
But
her.
maybe
I
he
think
didn't want to. Maybe he thought like, oh, I got to figure out something else so that they don't think that I did it. That like she died
also,
in my
let's look at
arms
all the things
potentially.
he's done. He does not make good decisions that make him look
No,
not guilty. So maybe to
no,
your
no,
point,
no.
Chantel, maybe he just thought this is the best way when it really the best way had just been honest. Like something's
Yeah,
happened. I bring her up. We try to save her.
yeah,
Like then people aren't suspecting, maybe you made it more complicated than it had to be. But
yeah.
it is really odd that he didn't try harder to
No,
save
it
her. Like,
is, and the insurance thing is also really odd. Like the fact that that was even
mhm.
spoken about beforehand, and like you said, until we actually know what he knew about the insurance.
Yeah, we
Yeah, because
can't
if it was only
say
at
for sure.
35, then it's just like, yeah, that he probably didn't do it on purpose. It probably was some sort of accident. But if he thought there was
Mhm.
money there to be had, I'm
Yeah.
thinking he did it on purpose.
Right. Or maybe like he was, hey, this is kind of a happy coincidence that you're struggling,
Mhm.
maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah, fair.
Actually, Chantel has talked me into a new view where okay, so if insurance is a big part of it, if there's more to it,
Mhm.
then that changes it completely.
Mhm.
But it could have been like that like mediocre white man syndrome where they think they can do all these things and
Mhm.
then they're overwhelmed so quickly by just
Mhm.
anything that is not fitting into their path perfectly. So he says, I'm a level red diver. I have all this training. And as soon as things get real, he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he literally, I mean, there was fight, flight, and freeze. And maybe
Mhm.
Mhm.
he tried to get her right. And she's flailing, as you would, because that's
Yeah.
fucking
Maybe he's just
terrifying.
frustrated or something.
And he's just like, I don't know what to do. And he just
Mhm.
froze. So I still hate him. And all things I
Mhm.
said still stand. But it could have been as easy as I'm overwhelmed. And it's kind of like, when you were kind of depressed and you're in school and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do my homework. And if I don't look at it, it's not there. And if I don't go
Mhm.
to my
Mhm.
exam, it's fine because I'm going to ignore it. It's kind of
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Avoidance.
That's what I do
Avoidance.
about cleaning
And
the
I mean, he
bathroom.
fully admits that he
Mm.
didn't do enough. So like he's acknowledging
That's
that.
almost worse than like planning it out. Like just,
Yeah. Well,
oh
I mean,
my
it's not worse,
God,
but like,
Tina.
it's
No, but I know, but I mean, for him to say like it was all part of his plan, so it was like Tina had
yeah.
no choice. But
Mhm.
for it to be his inaction cost it. Like what a
Right.
weak person. That just
Very.
sucks. Sucks for Tina. Tina did not deserve any of this.
I know. If I were his new wife, I'd be like, okay, so if I'm drowning, you're gonna swim away.
How do you start dating somebody over
Yeah,
that?
how do you
Like,
meet this guy and Google him and be like, holy shit?
well,
I
they
know.
probably weren't Googling as readily in 2009.
Yeah. Well, this
Google
would have
was
been
around.
probably
It was
the
around, but
year
I don't think
later
we
or
were
something that he
Googling
met
people
her. Like
as
it was
much as.
early mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Well,
Google
I
was
wonder if
definitely
we're
there,
still
but
together because I can
Yeah.
already tell she deserves better. I don't even know her.
I mean, I guess she was still with him after all of the stuff that I've told you, so I'm not sure today,
I
but
come back to the big penis. I can't think of any other reason why.
maybe he changed his ways. Maybe after this, he was like, I'm
yeah.
going to be a
Yeah, I
better
was like, I'm gonna
person, but I'm
save
still going to
people
be
when they're
really
drowning.
weird.
Okay, well,
But yeah.
Tina, holy shit. I don't know what to say. That's really fucking sad for you and your
I
family.
know. At the end of the day, Tina was only 26 and she didn't get
Little
to
baby.
live the rest of her life. So it's really tragic. And whether her family was supportive or not, I guess now they're probably going away with like, we were right. Like, we shouldn't have let her marry this guy, like this
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened. So they're
So
living with
yeah,
that
they were
guilt
right.
and
They would much rather have her daughter back, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Well, Lindsay,
So,
what a
I'm sorry for a sad tale on our
story.
50th, but I'd heard about this case before and I was trying to save it for the right time, and is there a right time to say tell
No,
the
but
story?
these are important stories, and even if it teaches someone to like, have higher standards for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because I think we've all been with a person like Gabe, and we've all been like, well, I guess I'll just go with the flow because, well,
Yeah.
sorry, someone's insinuating they.
I don't know anyone who's ever done
No,
that.
I don't know anybody either who's ever been in that.
Yeah,
So
at
just
all.
listen, look deep within yourself and ask yourself, would you ever treat someone the way that you're being treated? And if you're not,
Would you want your best friends
don't fucking
treated that
dive.
way?
Well,
That's
and see,
really the best the
yes,
best
exactly.
way to ask
yeah.
it.
You know what? Yeah, Chantel, that is a great
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I know. I know. Hey, you live and learn. You live and learn. Okay.
You
And
live and learn.
sometimes it's not the first time, but
It's
maybe
not
the
the
third
second.
time.
It's not the third, fourth, maybe the seventh. Maybe it'll stick on that one.
It wasn't that bad,
Right.
but it was bad. Anywho,
Do we
happy
want
50th.
Do
What?
we
Happy
want a
50th.
quick little
Yeah.
happy fact?
Yes.
Thank God,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, end on a happy note.
Okay. Millions of trees grow every year thanks to forgetful squirrels. They can't
I love
remember
this
where
fact.
they bury their nuts. A study at the University of
know.
Richmond found out that squirrels fail to recover up to 74% of their nuts that they bury. So it turns out that
Oh,
I'm like a squirrel when it comes to hair ties and lip balms, is what this person said on their thing. But yeah, like
True.
10 millions of
That's
trees
so
grow every
cute.
year. So
Aw.
So
little squirrels.
I kind of hate Ontario squirrels. You guys know how I feel because they're
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
scary.
they're
I-
giant.
They're black and gray and white.
did you
with
know that New
missing
Brunswick has
tails.
black squirrels too?
Oh my God, they're heading
Oh.
east.
I see.
Yeah.
It won't be
we
long
grew
now.
up in Nova Scotia. Our squirrels are so little and
They're normal
They're like-
size.
you imagine them in a
They're
fairy
red.
tale or something.
Yeah.
jumping
yeah.
around. And
There are a few really cute gray squirrels on the walk that I go, and they have the bushiest tails, and I'm like, please let me just like pet your tail a little bit, but they never do.
Yeah.
That's really cute. I
Yeah.
love squirrels and I love
Anyway.
trees. So
Yeah. Just wanted
Thank
to feel
you.
a little better on number 50.
yeah.
happy 50th, happy National
Yes.
Red Wine Day yesterday. I love you guys. I'll be employed soon. So things are pretty good. Things are pretty good.
Things are looking up. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, we'll see you all next week. Or
See you
hear you
next
next
week.
week. Okay. Love you. Bye.
I had like a moment I blanked out. Bye.
Thank you for listening today. We loved having you. If you liked the episode, share with your friends, family, or anyone who would enjoy it. Also, take a moment to review our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Leaving us a like or comment really helps. If you'd like to buy us a coffee, please visit our coffee page at www.ko-fi.com/coastfiles. Email us at coastfilespod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at coastfilespod, or visit our website at www.coastfiles.com. You can find the sources for today's episode on our website. See you next week with a new episode.